What's going on, everyone? So Cam Reddish is officially a Los Angeles Laker. This is a guy that the Lakers have tried to acquire on numerous occasions. They tried trading for him like 3 times. And once they actually had him, the deal was done, paperwork getting ready to be processed, and the New York Knicks ended up getting a little just pick happy. They wanted more compensation. There was supposed to be a 3-team deal in the works, and unfortunately it fell through. But guess what? The Lakers didn't have to trade, didn't have to do anything, and they were able to sign him. And I think that he could, in hindsight, looking back, be a very underrated signing for the Lakers. I'm not saying that he's underrated in the sense of a player, right? You see that just get thrown around so much. Oh, this guy's underrated, that guy's underrated. No. I mean, he's been the player that he's been. But there are some circumstances in regards to the type of player he is and the environment and situations in which he has been in. Now, I do think that when we get to the end of the season or whatever, we might look back and go, man, Cam Reddish was a real factor. He gave us quality minutes, really provided size and length, athleticism. This is a guy that was highly sought after. This is a guy that many people really thought was going to be the next big 3-and-D style wing. He's got good size, good length. He's strong. He's sturdy. He was a top draft pick, right? Top 10 pick in the 2019 draft. He's still extremely young. He's only 23 years old. So this is a guy that if the Lakers drafted him in this year's draft, right, people would be just clamoring over how the Lakers got one of the best picks there is, right? Like, he has a lot of upside and potential for a player. And the Lakers ended up acquiring him. Now, as far as just what he has done, right? I'm not trying to say he's, Pascal Siakam or anything like that. But when you look at the circumstances and the environment he's in, one, in a negative light, I guess, is injuries, right? He had struggled with injuries. Secondly, his just character, right? At times, he kind of developed this bit of a stigma of like, hey, he's a guy that is upset with his circumstances, but I don't really blame him for it, right? Like, there's situations like guys like Christian Wood, for example, right? Christian Wood has this stigma around him of him just having character issues, locker room problems, and that's why he's having a hard time, even though he's incredibly talented, having a hard time getting an opportunity. But he's had opportunities. He's been in organizations, team, and has gotten contracts, and people have tried to put him in position for success. You haven't really gotten that with Cam Reddish, right? He was drafted by Atlanta, and with Atlanta, his first 2 years, he played about 50. He played 58 games first year, 26 games the second year, and then 49 or 34 games the third year. He only started out of all of those games. He only started about 63 games total out of all those years, and he averaged about 25 minutes a game in that time. But he also became an afterthought because Atlanta they end up making the conference finals, and then they kind of just push their chips to the table as far as like going for more veterans. They got a bunch of guys that played the position he goes, and then they end up moving off of him and sending him to the New York Knicks, right? But here's the problem. The Knicks traded for Cam Reddish even after Tibbs said, I don't want Cam Reddish, don't trade for him. I mean, that was public information. And then they still traded for him, and Tibbs just didn't want him, didn't really play him, didn't really give him an opportunity. When he got traded to the Knicks, he played in 15 games, started 0 games, and only got 14 minutes per game. That's what he got with the Knicks. And how can you, as a player, be willing to buy in, be willing to sacrifice yourself, from the sense of like a player standpoint, and, be willing to go to war with your coach when you know for a fact your coach doesn't want you on the roster, didn't want you to begin with, isn't giving you an opportunity, right? It's hard to want to show up for that, especially when you're young, or especially when you're a kid. You're like, Okay, then why did you guys trade for me if you didn't want me? And then immediately they tried to trade him to the Lakers, right? They got him, and I think it wasn't even a month, I don't think. He was being shipped out to the Lakers, and then that deal fell through, right? The Knicks tried to trade him to Lakers. So it's one of those things where it's like, how can I show up for you when, one, you don't put me in a position to have success, two, you don't even really want me here, and then he ends up getting shipped out to the Portland Trail Blazers, and he actually was solid for Portland in that stretch. I mean, it wasn't a huge stretch. He only played 20 games. He started 12 of them. He played 27 and a half minutes, and he didn't shoot great from three. He shot about 32% from three, but he still gave them 11 points, right? And even with all of just the issues and everything that has happened with Cam Reddish, this is a guy that still has averaged 10 points per game for his career. This is a guy that's basically, you give him 15, 20 minutes, he's going to give you 10 points per game. He's going to play defense. He's got good size, good instincts, good athleticism. He needs an opportunity. He does. He needs a place where he can come, he can buy in. He knows for a fact the Lakers want him. The Lakers have tried to get him 3 times, right? 4th time turned out to be the charm. So he's in an environment where he knows the organization wants him. He's in an environment where he has a coach that is a player coach and that has a reputation for getting guys to buy in and having players just love him as a coach. He has development coach in Phil Handy, who is just, he's one of, if not the best in the league, and he's beloved by so many. Right? He is in a structured environment. He has vets like LeBron James. You know, he has, he's in the best situation he could probably be in, given the circumstances that he has had to go through to get to this point. Now, it's up to him to deliver, right? Now he knows he's not in a situation like Atlanta where, you know, he thought he was going to, like, this was my place. I'm going to be a cornerstone. I'm going to be this, that, and the other. And then, never mind. Instead, we're going to ship you out because we're going the veteran route. Yes, he is very likely behind vets, but at least he'll know his role. He'll have an understanding, right? It won't be a situation where you think one thing and then another thing happens and it kind of throws you through a loop, right? It's easier to know what your job is when you know what your job is, when you know what your role is within the job, right? And that's something that I think he'll have with that. And then he won't have a Knicks environment where the coach doesn't really want to play you. The coach didn't even really want you there to begin with. And now he's going to have to deliver, right? It's up to him now. And look, I wanted Cam Reddish. I wanted the Lakers to go and acquire Cam Reddish at the deadline last year. I wanted Cam Reddish on the Lakers for a while. Again, he's 23 years old. He has a whole career ahead of him, literally. And he is your prototypical 3-and-D style wing, right? He needs growth. He needs development. He needs somebody that can put him in position to have success. But I wouldn't be shocked if he has one of his best career years. Like, I wouldn't. Because again, when you're in a situation where you're comfortable, you're happy, you understand your role, you know the players and team and organization and coach, they actually want you, it's easier to be more committed, to play better, to play harder. There is also questions about his conditioning and how he, goes about, the off seasons and stuff. But now he's going to have those examples. He's going to have a guy like LeBron James that's just a monster when it comes to that kind of thing, right? He has guys that are around his age group that want to have the same success, right? He's in an environment. You are your environment, right? And I really think that he's a guy that is now in the proper environment, is in the right place, and can now be a real piece for the Lakers long term, right? I'm not saying, I'm not trying to say that he's going to come in this year and all of a sudden be a 25-5 guy or something like that. It's not what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he gives us 11 a game. but can he do it on better efficiency, right? So instead of 32%, can he be 37% or 36% or even league average, right? Can he be league average? I mean, he had a year in which he shot 38% with Atlanta on 4.5 attempts, right? So it's not impossible. He was actually a pretty decent three-point shooter with Atlanta. He had a year where he shot 36%, 38%, and then he went to the Knicks, and that just fell off a cliff. And then he kind of picked it up a couple percentage with the Portland Trailblazers. But he was also in an environment with Atlanta where he was more comfortable at the time where he had success. So even the idea of him being more efficient from shooting the three ball is very likely because the numbers back it up. When you look at when was he comfortable? When did everything start going chaotic for him? As you saw that happen, you see all of his numbers just slowly decline. All of his percentages. So again, I don't expect him to come in and be a 40-45% three-point shooter, but can he be at least league average? Right? That's growth. That's improvement. Can he shoot instead of, 44, 45%? Can he shoot 46, 47%? Right? Because he's been about a 45% field goal shooter, which is good. Like, that's not bad. That's most players in the league, right? Like, that's even some stars shoot around 45%, right? Like, that's not terrible. So this is a guy that can get buckets. This is a guy that can defend. It's a guy that's young. He's talented. He's not going to be asked to play a huge role. He's going to be another piece in the overall engine that gets this car going. And I really am. I'm really high on Cam Reddish. He has all the intangibles. He has like a 7'1" wingspan, something like that. Like, so he's got good length, good size, good athleticism, good foot speed. If the Lakers drafted him this year, the entire league would probably be talking about it, and so would the media. But because he had poor success with Atlanta, poor success with the Knicks, he did get a little shine with Portland because he did, like I said, he did have a couple nice games, nice moments with Portland. He was actually pretty good with Portland, right? Like even if we just get the Portland version of Cam Reddish, that's pretty good, right? Because again, he was pretty good for Portland, and so I'm high on Cam Reddish. I think I wouldn't be shocked if, looking back, it was like, man, like we really did. Like, that was an underrated signing, getting Cam Reddish. I mean, even if it's not this year, right? Maybe we keep him long term, and in 2-3 years, we look back and go, man, remember when he was flopping with the Atlanta and the Knicks, and dude, and we got him, and now look at him. Now this dude's, Jeremy Grant or something like that, right? Like, I'm not saying he has to be great, right? He doesn't have to be, like I said earlier, a Pascal Siakam. Can he be a Jeremy Grant or something like that, where he's just a legit 3-and-D guy? A guy that can shoot 38% from 3, guard 1 through 5. That's perfect. I'll take that every day, including Sunday. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think of Cam Reddish? Are you high on Cam Reddish like I am? Are you not? Are you kind of in the middle where it's like, I want to wait and see? However you feel, love to hear it. Let me know.